morning, Molly.
Good morning, Jody.
Known as Molly Nicholson. Your alias was
Marie Mark.
Mark.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a strong name.
Mm-hmm.
And for whom did you choose that particular
That's my father's name. Mm-hmm.
religious name, Mark?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But it's also my nephew's name and 3 grandnephews and a great-grandnephew.
Oh, my.
So it's a strong name in our family.
Yes. You must have several nieces and nephews and grandnieces and nephews.
I have close to 30. Mm-hmm.
Oh, my. How do you keep them straight, Molly?
I don't.
Oh, okay. That means you had many brothers. I know you had one sister.
Yeah, my sister was the oldest,
Mm-hmm.
and she had been in the community, Mary Gale. And then I had 5 brothers,
Mm-hmm.
and then me. So I'm the youngest.
So the 2 girls
We're the bookends.
were the
Mhm.
bookends.
Mhm.
Did the boys appreciate that?
Oh, they did, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. They're good guys, all of my
Mhm.
brothers.
And how many are still on this earth?
2, Pat and Terry, and they're the
Mhm.
oldest boys.
I do remember, was it not this March, but last March
Mhm.
for your birthday and for St. Patrick's Day?
My Jubilee.
Oh, your Jubilee.
One of my nephews gave me the gift of a trip to Ireland, but then he slipped and told his siblings, so they all went too. So we had nine of my nieces and nephews and myself. And they had never been there, so I was able to introduce them to cousins and to take them around. And we arrived the day before St. Patrick's Day
Oh, my.
in Dublin.
Do they really celebrate?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah, 15,000 that day
Oh,
in
my.
the city. But
No one stays home.
Hmm?
No one stays home.
well, if they do, they probably watch it on TV.
Mhm.
I don't know.
It's like a parade.
Yes, the parade was huge, but they had all kinds of celebrations going on because it was also the 100-year celebration of the Troubles in Ireland, too.
Oh, my.
So there were many people back for that, too.
And the pubs were full.
Yeah. Hmm.
Was that your first trip to Ireland?
No, my third.
Your
No,
third.
yeah.
Oh.
Probably my last, but
Oh.
yeah. I went with for my 25th Jubilee, I was given a gift, and then later on, Nancy Ann Turner and Jean Keeley and I went, and then this trip.
What a treat.
Mhm.
And you're going to retire there, I presume.
No, no, I love home right here.
Well, Molly, first of all, I want to thank you for the privilege of working with you at Weber Center in the late 80s.
That's right.
Must have been around 86, 87.
Mm-hmm.
And you had just come from Cleveland, as I
Jesuit
recall.
Retreat House.
Was that in Cleveland or
A
Medina?
suburb in Parma, yeah.
In Parma,
Mhm.
yes.
Mhm.
And what was your role there?
I had been, I was there about 5 years, and I worked spiritual direction first, but then I also worked with parishes, doing quite a bit of formation of teams and parish councils and that type of thing. So with the director of the house, a Jesuit, and we put together a team of 6 people to work with parishes. So we did about 30-some parishes. And,
Oh my, what fun.
yeah, it was. I loved
Because
it.
the people were quite open during those years, the
Oh,
early 80s.
They were
Mhm.
eager,
Mhm.
eager to learn and to take responsibility. Mhm.
Now, I always thought you were from Ohio because you spent many years there. What were your other ministries in Ohio?
When I first went to Ohio, it was to Cleveland and to Hoban, Dominican, and it was the last 2 years that Hoban was open, and so I taught, and I had a girl because I had a drama background. I had a girls' drill team, which I loved, and I did some of the theater things there, plus English. And then when I left there, left Hoban, then I went right to Hoban and St. Henry's were next door to each other, the parish. So then I began parish ministry at St. Henry's. And
Had they ever had parish ministry?
no, they didn't.
before?
In fact,
Oh my.
the other person and myself that were hired, it was Judy Gerard from our community. We were the first pastoral ministers in the diocese.
Oh my.
So then and it was a wonderful parish. I loved it dearly. So I was there a couple of years, and then I moved to the other side of the city, to the retreat center.
Lovely, lovely. And then your last ministry in Ohio before you came, or was it?
Was at the retreat center.
Retreat
Because
center.
I was there, and then I came to Weber.
Well, I remember you talking about Litchfield. Isn't that in Ohio?
Yeah, that was there too. The trying to think of where that came in.
That's okay. But just,
Yeah, when I went to, it was right from when I went from St. Henry's to St. Leo's. In St. Leo's, which was on the other side of the city in Parma. Then I went to Litchfield. And
that was near Medina, wasn't it?
Yes. It was 3 counties. It was a new team that was being formed in the southwestern part of the area. And it was 18 towns that we had. There were 7 of us. There were 3 priests from the diocese, 3 sisters, all from different religious congregations, and a laywoman in her 60s. And we formed the team, and they had a lot of area that had no parish at all. So we began in an area, and then we branched out from there. But we had 7 sites that we named, all after Jesus. We had Jesus our teacher, Jesus is a divine child, Jesus this and Jesus that.
So were those mini parishes or the start of the seeds?
They were mission sites.
I see.
We called them missions. And
were there churches there?
Not at the time. So when we began, like in Chippewa Lake, we used the community room of a bank. In another place, we used a former church, and we never did know what denomination it was. But there were all kinds of stories, because in that church, it had a downstairs that people lived in. And sometimes on Sunday morning, when we came, what we could smell was the marijuana from the night before.
I thought you were going to say bacon.
No. And then we moved out of that to a bank across the street and used their community room for a while. But then when we finally had to build, we built at the home site where we lived. The team lived in a house. The men lived next door to the house in what had been a center for delinquent children. So we thought it was right that the men would stay there. And then the women lived in the farmhouse, which was 100 and some years old. And we had a lot of property.
And a lot of farm animals?
No, we had no farm animals at that time. Later on we had some, but at that time, when we formed that team, one of the things that we decided on is every day, every morning, we would gather together for prayer and share with each other where we hope to go in that 1,000 square miles that day. And then when we came back in the evening before dinner, we would gather again and in Thanksgiving and talk about where we had been, what had happened, who we had met, and then where we needed to go next. And so it was we organized it ourselves. And then later we had Catherine Pinkerton, who was a CSJ, help facilitate some of our gatherings. And that was excellent. So the place was just a grace for all of us.
Well, it's like giving birth to communities.
Oh, it was.
Yes.
It very much was, yeah.
My.
And it has grown quite a bit, but since then the diocese has broken some of the team up, have put some of the parishes back together, has doubled them, merged them. But when we were there, we had the 7 sites that we went to, so every Sunday we had lots of liturgies to go to.
Yes.
So.
Did you ever conduct any of the liturgies or prayer
No,
services?
because we always went as a team, man and a woman together. And but we did some preaching, did lots of planning, and then eventually we brought in a lot of the lay people, because none of them, the people in the parish, had ever been trained as lectors or anything for liturgy. So when we started out, we did all that, and it was just a real blessed place.
The people must have been forever grateful.
They were,
Yeah.
but the thing that happened is the formation of community among them. When when Clara, who was the laywoman on the team, she was killed by a semi. She was a terrible driver, but she had retired, and she came back for a weekend for a celebration, and drove to another town to see one of the parishioners, and was hit broadside by a semi. So when we had her wake and funeral, when the people heard about it right away, they came to the house and said, "Now you always come to our houses when somebody dies, and you're always there to pray with us," and etc. So they brought their sleeping bags and stayed in our house for 4 days, and then
Did the cooking and
did the
probably-
cooking, everything that And then at the end, they had a big placard type of thing that was ruled off in the name of each of the mission sites. And for each of the days, for the next 2 months, families had signed up to keep us in prayer that day. And then also in the card that was with it, it said, if you ever need anybody to talk to when you're on the road, or you feel down, please stop at this home, and their doors are open. So I think for me, that was just the reality of
culmination
what we
of-
had gone to do to form community.
And to
had-
empower the people.
Yes, had really happened, yeah. I remember Father John Fiala from the diocese was the one who put this together, and he had been my pastor at St. Leo's. But he, when we first started, the first week, he came to our house when we were preparing dinner and said, "Leave the dinner and get in my car." And he took us to a barn raising, or a house raising really, in the Amish area. And we sat in the car, and he said, "No, we're not going to take any pictures. Look and see what you see, because this is what this parish is to be."
Oh my heavens.
Everybody helping.
Oh my.
So, and I think it
Yeah.
became that.
Yes. Well, did you ever toil the soil while you were there?
Oh yeah.
Oh, did you?
Oh sure. Yeah, we had a huge garden. We had always had a dog and some cats, and for a while we had a horse of our own.
What about farm equipment or
We
machines?
had the next door neighbors had plow, and we used the plow a couple times to do some of the ground, and in the wintertime we used their trucks and things to help shovel out the snow, because we had to do all the shoveling
Any
ourselves.
tractors?
Oh yeah, we had a tractor. One of the guys on the team, one of the priests on the team, sort of wrecked it because he went over the bridge and caught the wheel in the bridge. But that was part of our living together and working together. So.
And what about the animals on the farms? Did you ever become close to any of them?
Oh, very close.
Very close.
The last week that I was there, 2 things happened. One was somebody used part of the land to bring their cattle over. And in fact, the last day I was there in the morning, I could hear this sound that was awful. And one of the men on the team went out, and he came running to me and he said, "There's a cow down there and it's trying to birth and it's stuck." Now the owners of these animals live quite a distance away. So the 2 of us slid under the barbed wire and went down and birthed this little cub.
Oh
Brought it, and then went and called the owner. So it was
what a beautiful experience.
That was the last thing of
Oh,
birthing.
my.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So-
Well, then it must have been very boring at Weber Center after all of those experiences.
Well, I didn't go to Weber right from there.
No,
yeah,
yes,
but
but I'm bringing you back to that.
Yeah, I went to the
experience.
Jesuit retreat house
Yes.
after being at OLHC, and then I was only at the Jesuit retreat house for 4 years, I think. And then you were talking to me about coming to Weber. So eventually, then I did come to Weber, and I was only at Weber 2 years, I think, because then I was elected to the council. Yeah.
Wasn't it nice seeing Mo Prue on this
weekend? Yes, it was.
Yes,
Yes, it
He's
was.
85 and looking good,
Yeah,
isn't
he is. He is, very much
Yes,
so.
He was on our team at that time. Yes. Well, before you came to Adrian for retirement, I know
I
you.
never came for retirement.
Oh, you didn't come for
I came for retreading.
retreading. That's a beautiful word.
When I left Henderson,
Yes.
that's what I said. I said, I'm not going to retire. I'm going to retread. You always use your gifts.
Yes.
Yeah, and you keep sharing whatever it is. So
Yeah. Well, thank you for that reminder. I'm retreading.
Yes.
Till I go
That's
to the
ministry
circles.
continues. That's right. Mhm.
Yes, yeah. But I know that was Henderson was a special place for you. Did you live on Church Street?
I lived on
On
Church
Church
Street,
Street.
47 Church Street. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
What was your ministry there in
well,
Valley?
when I went there, Rod Davis, who was the CEO, had invited me to come. He knew me from the time I was on council, and when he came in here, and
He was the CEO.
he was in charge of all the. At that time, there was only one hospital,
Oh.
but St. Rose, and it had been there for 47 years. So he called me when I was on a break between positions to ask me if I would come and do spirituality and mission in the workplace. So I said to him, knowing he was a Mormon, I said, well, I'd like to come and talk with you and some of the people there to see what you mean by that and share what I mean by it. So I did that, and at the end of our conversation together with the operations team and Rod, he said to me, so when are you coming? And I said, I didn't say I would. And he said, oh, you will. And so afterwards I said, I got home and I wrote back and said, I'll be there at the end of summer.
Oh my.
And I loved it. I was there 7 years, and I would have stayed longer, except I was coming to burnout, because when I went, we had 3,000 employees, close to 3,000 employees. When I left, we had, I think it was 27,000.
Wow. Wow.
And see, during that time,
Wow. Two hospitals.
we built the Siena campus, which is the primary campus now. It's huge. And then, again, while I was still there, we built the San Martin campus. So we built three hospitals were established then. And I was responsible for working with all the new employees.
My.
And that would be at least 100 to a couple months over 300 that came on board.
Oh boy.
And I did all the orientations. And Sister Monica Stankus was also there, so we took turns doing orientation. And then of the employees and of the physicians and of the board. And then
Lordy.
during the weekdays and stuff, it was being present to them. So what I did mostly was every single day I went to ER and to neonatal ward area with the new babies. And then I tried to get around to the other areas as well. The chaplains did that, but I needed to keep the staff working with our values.
Probably one of affirmation also.
Oh, it was, yeah. I would go to the desk, the nurse's desk, and I'd say, so, what's the good news today? And they, if they had time, they would share something.
That's a good question.
And then I would say, and so what's the not so good news today? And they would just look at me, and I said, I know you're going to talk about it, so you may as well tell me. So they did. And then if there were issues, I would get the manager and the nursing staff or whoever together and facilitate that meeting. And so that it was really to keep the mission of who we say we are as Adrian Dominicans and in that hospital going.
I always admired Rod Davis whenever he spoke of the history of the Adrian Dominicans.
He loves the Adrian Dominicans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That was a joy to work with him.
It was a blessing to work with him. It really was. And he trusted us so much. So that was real joy. I've been very blessed places I've been.
Yes. But that was a major ministry, Molly.
Oh, it was.
Oh
yeah.
my. Yes. And we do have women focusing now, right, on the mission in the 3 hospitals.
Yes, we do.
Phyllis
Sikora
is there.
and Katie McGrail took my place at Siena. And we have a sister from another congregation, Dominican congregation, in the San Martin campus. So the Dominican spirit is
Yes,
strong.
And besides Katie and Phyllis, who are our sisters that are still in the Henderson, Las Vegas area?
Carol Elia,
Janice still there?
Janice Scholl,
Sister Michael?
Sister Michael Thomas. Oh yes, I always say to her, "You are St. Rose."
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
She's been there a long time, and I think that's about
Is
it.
it Judy?
Oh, Judy Nelson.
Judy
yeah,
Nelson.
she works at one of the hospitals. Yeah.
And Vicki?
Vicki D'Alessandro.
Yes,
See, you got
yes.
that better than I do.
She's coming in for her jubilee.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Which
That'd be
is
nice.
which is not that far away. And currently, I know you've been very involved in Lenawee County activities. Would you share some of those activities?
Sure. When I first came, I wanted to do some volunteer work someplace off campus, and so for about a year and a half, I used to work at Fishes and Loaves, which is place here in town across from the post office that helps people who are short on food. They're very organized and very fine, and the thing I liked about was meeting the people, but also the group of us that would work each day. They had different people come in for different hours to work, and I was there each day for about 4 hours a day. What I found though is they were having so many people volunteering that I really wasn't needed. And because a lot of times too, I found I would just be standing around,
Right.
Okay. So I thought, well, there's other things to do, so I left there. Yeah. And then I joined it's really a tri-county trafficking and committee that we have.
Oh, wow.
We began it, the Adrian Dominicans began it, and then we had several women from Zonta join it. And then from there, we went out, and now it's mostly lay people. Lay people are running it, and we meet every month, and we do quite a bit of instruction in schools and conferences for parents on what trafficking is,
What to
how,
look for.
how strong it is, what to look for your children, but also how to spot it elsewhere. And
It's hard to believe that that's prevalent in
It
our
is. Yeah.
our counties
Yeah.
here.
My dream is for us, not Adrian, but the Adrian area, to establish a house where women who have been trafficked might come.
Safe
But
house.
there's an awful lot involved in that, so it'll take a long time. But I was involved in that, and then I was on the Board of Catholic Charities for a while, and I think that's mostly it.
Well, I do remember you asking for sisters to help washing sheets.
Oh, yes.
So that was
That-
share the warmth. Or,
It was called Share the Warmth, and it was begun by the Mercy Sister who worked at Siena,
Pat Schnapp.
Pat Schnapp, yeah. And it was for homeless men and women. Mostly men would come, but there was a small room with about enough beds for maybe 4 women that was separate. And people in the community would make dinner and bring it in, and the people who were homeless would come by 7 or 8 o'clock, and they would have dinner ready for them. And then they would bed down for the night. And we'd always have someone or some couple people staying overnight in case anything happened that they needed to take care of. So yes, I was working with that. I was getting people to. We had to wash the sheets every day, so to wash the sheets, and we had several places in town that let us do that for free. And then I would go over and meet with a whole group of people from all the various churches were part of it. So I was a representative for Adrian Dominican Sisters, and we had a representative from the college as well, from Siena University.
Oh my! Oh,
It's still going.
Is it?
But it's still going, but what they have found out is, and you may have seen that in the paper, is that it's not big enough. We really need a place much larger that also has provisions for taking showers and things like that. So there are a couple women, and a couple men from town, who are working on this to raise money for us to be able to build or find and fix up a place that we can use. So we'll work towards that.
And the congregation has made it generous.
Definitely.
Yes.
The congregation has given the
Property.
selling of the property that Dr. Bobian used to be in, and that'll be used, that money from that will be used towards that house.
Molly, I know you're residing in Ratisbon, which is the former priest's rectory. Are there any ghosts
No,
of
but
Father Gaynor or
No
Father
ghost-
Sadlier?
No ghosts, but we have an influx of bats.
Oh, no.
at the time of the fair in town here every year. They get
Really?
They get used. So we have a big bat catcher in the house. And Sister Carlene is the queen of bat catchers, of bats rather, and the rest of us help her out. We're the spotters.
Oh, my. Do they come up through the top floor there?
We think they come from the roof, but we don't really know. Yeah.
We used to think they were in chapel.
Oh, they are. They're the same ones.
We would
yeah.
duck.
And they go through Madden still.
So they are losing their places over at the fairgrounds. So they come to these,
Oh.
because we're one of the highest
Yes, yes.
pieces of property in Adrian.
And we have bat catchers built all over the campus.
Really? I did not know that.
The further out you go, you'll see them. Yeah.
Well, if the bats knew that, they would avoid
Well,
us.
they see our house first, I think. And we have a nice community, so they like to come there.
Now, before we finish, we've never mentioned where you were born.
Oh, I was born in Detroit, Michigan, 14696 Alma Avenue. Okay, and
East side.
my parents, yeah, East Side. My parents were both from Ireland, from Northern Ireland.
Straight from Ireland.
Straight from Ireland.
Oh my
I'm
God.
considered what they call a narrowback. A narrowback is usually a man who's once removed from the old sod, and their backs were narrow because they couldn't hold the hod that they used to work with.
Oh, my, yes.
And so they call them the narrowbacks. So I'm once removed from Ireland.
Did your parents come through Canada?
No, they came.
Through Alice?
Yeah, they came through. Through the place that most people do.
Ellis.
but Ellis Island. Yeah.
Did they meet here in the United
No,
States?
they met there and they got married there. And then my dad had been here and he went back and met my mother, whom he knew. And they got married, and 2 weeks later, or a week later, he had to come back. But she couldn't come because she wasn't a citizen.
Yeah.
So they had to wait almost 2 years. And I can still remember my dad saying to my mother on their anniversary one year, "You're so lucky I sent for you." And she looked at him and smiled and said, "And you're so lucky I came."
Oh, how beautiful. How beautiful. So the Gail was born here in the United
Yes,
States.
we all were.
Yes.
7 children.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I have this chance to send her love. We went to school together, and I've always admired her. She was fun to be around.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you, Molly,
Thank you, too.
for your time today, and for your, in the name of all of our sisters, for your time on the council.
Well,
That was in around
92
1992.
to 98. Yeah.
Yes, with Sister
Pat Walter,
Walter.
Pat Seaman, Chris Matthews, and Ann Guinan.
And you're all here in Adrian
We're
now.
all right here, and it's wonderful to be together again.